ZipRecruiter's the number 2 recruitment site in the US after Recruit Holdings. Let's make sure our audience knows that Zip is a way distant number 2. I mean, hell, Indeed is so far ahead of ZipRecruiter. Zip's lost Indeed's trail, and they're aimlessly wandering the frozen tundra, for God's sakes. The most pathetic piece of this is that their traffic went up and their revenues went down. How they have not fired Ian out of that position as CEO, this is the time, guys.
Hide your kids. Lock the doors. You're listening to HR's most dangerous podcast. Chad Sowash and Joel Cheeseman are here to punch the recruiting industry right where it hurts. Complete with breaking news, brash opinion, and loads of snark. Buckle up, boys and girls. It's time for the Chad and Cheese podcast.
Welcome to the Bitcoin podcast, because this employment crap just isn't paying the bills anymore. Hey, boys and girls. I'm just kidding, of course. It's the Chad and Cheese podcast. I'm your co-host, Joel Hodel Cheeseman.
This is Chad, Be Kind, Rewind, Sowash.
And I'm here as well this week. Lieven, you can find me on ChatGPT search. Van Nieuwenhuizen.
That's right, baby. On this episode, we got layoffs, loneliness, loathing, and as you just heard, Lieven is in the house, everybody.
Yeah.
Yes!
I am.
Why the hell not? 2 Europeans and 1 American on the show. Let's do this.
At Shaker Recruitment Marketing, our comprehensive services include branding, talent attraction, MarTech, and analytics, empowering you to achieve your recruitment marketing goals. We believe in doing things the right way, delivering the right message through the right activation, achieving the right conversion. For us, business is deeply personal. Our legacy is built on relationships. Together with our people, clients, and partners, we've been shaping the world of talent for over 70 years.
You're outnumbered,
What's up,
Cheeseman.
Europeans? Yeah, I am outnumbered. This is a bad evolution of the show. All good. Lieven, how are you?
I'm fine, but I'm in the wrong part of Europe where it's cold and rainy, and where Chad is sitting, it's sunny and dry, so...
Yeah, Chad's been flexing in the green room. He's showcasing the sun, the beer, there's a hot tub at your Airbnb. Yeah,
it overlooks the Cadiz Cathedral. The Cadiz Cathedral. So we're doing some very bad things right across from the cathedral. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Can we get some hot tubs to the North Koreans? Because if we throw in some porn and did you guys see this story?
I think
they're having problems, aren't they?
Well, they've never had the internet. I mean, can you imagine when you first had the internet? Imagine it was high speed and like all the sites that weren't available in the 90s are now available. Well, apparently the North Koreans serving in Russia, some 10,000 soldiers, have all discovered Pornhub. Shocker, as they've gotten internet. No, the secret to democracy is not a McDonald's and a Starbucks on every corner. It's porn on every phone, apparently, if we could just figure that out. Get on that, Elon.
Well,
Get on that, Elon.
Apparently the North Koreans are having problems getting laid. So other than that, I mean,
that's not a problem exclusive to North Koreans, by the way, Chad. That's not just for North Koreans.
Oh, it's not? Oh, I wouldn't know that. Okay, carry on.
And speaking of getting laid, Lieven, for our listeners that don't know you, I'm sure it's not very many, but give us a quick sort of who you are for those that have never heard our European podcast.
But I shouldn't be talking about getting late, right? Just about me.
Exactly. Yeah.
The floor is yours, my friend.
I'll give it back afterwards. I'm Lieven van Nieuwenhuizen, Chief Digital at House of HR. I'm the European co-host, and I'll try not to say anything too stupid in this edition.
Well, we're in charge of saying the stupid shit, Lieven, so you're the smart guy, so it's all good.
And speaking of smart things to say, shall we get into shout outs? By the way, our shout outs are sponsored by fine Canadian company startup Kiora. That's text recruiting done smart and price efficiently. Chad, what shout out do you have for this week?
Well, I have a shout out to Alex Shikovski, who brings the death of prompt engineering as a job to our doorstep. That's right, kids. AI has already progressed past the need for a prompt engineer job to even exist. And I'd like to also share, if you're watching on YouTube, a supporting comment by Oras Al-Kubasi, who shows the decline of prompt engineering jobs over the last 12 months. So shout out to the death of prompt engineering and tech moving so fucking fast. We're not sure what job is going to die or be created next.
Oh, we're so doomed. We're so doomed, everybody. Yeah, these, like we talked to startups, Chad, and the cycle of like start a company, grow it a little bit, and then sell it is getting so much faster than it has before. Oh, yeah. Like these jobs are going to go the same way. Like a job that is in demand in 1 month, 6 months from now, like it'll be over. So the ability to adapt and move quickly is going to be very important in the future. And I'll go from that.
So the turn on that, I want to hear this from Lieven, because he looks at startups all the time. The turn from being an advisor, you had a little bit more time to be able to develop, to be able to prospectively partner and penetrate, other organizations' portfolios from a partnership and alliance standpoint. That window is shrinking very quickly. At least that's, what we're seeing in the US. And I think what we're also seeing in Europe. What are you seeing on the startup side of the house, Lieven?
That was a very long question. Could you say shorter?
Yeah. So what's changed? Tech is moving much faster. Startups have to be different than what they were 2 years ago. What kind of changes have you seen in startups today versus just a few years ago?
The easy answer is, of course, if you don't mention AI, you don't get any funding. Yes. And that's a big change.
Yes.
But actually, I think now with the new technology all around, things are becoming very creative. People got used to the new way of thinking, using AI, etc. And I constantly discover new tools, HR tech tools, which are actually amazing, great ideas. So for me, what is changing is the level of creativity again. The past 10 years, from time to time, you've found something which was new. But now I get new tools monthly, I think weekly, maybe even. So I like the creativity which was created by technology.
Yeah, love it. Hey, listener. Hey, I'm seeing here that you're watching every single week. Yeah, I know YouTube, Google, they have these analytics things, and you haven't subscribed yet. I don't know what the problem is. Hopefully, it's probably Joel. I know it's probably Joel, but it's okay. It's okay. He's not here right now. Just go ahead and click subscribe. Click subscribe.
I feel like there'll be more acquisitions, but much less lower price tags on some of these. There'll be a lot more bets taken by companies that.
There'll be more funding happening too, but it'll be to a lesser degree, and they won't get to C and D rounds as others have.
Yeah, and a lot of these things feel like features. Just add features. It's like buy it instead of build it, which we've talked about for a long time. But there's going to be a lot more buying as companies get a lot more money. And speaking of lower prices, my shout out is from the land down under. That's right. Australia is taking a knife. That's not a knife. That's a knife. And implementing a ban on social media for children under 16. As a parent of an 18-year-old and a soon-to-be 16-year-old, I can tell you that social media is the devil. Parents are in a no-win situation in the United States where if they don't let their kids get on social media, their kids are lepers and totally disengaged with their community. But if they're on social media, well, they're on social media. And between anxiety, depression, cyberbullying, negative body imaging, sleep deprivation, social media is bad for kids. We need like a federal ban in the United States. So shout out to Australia for taking that move. We need that in the United States. Social media is bad for kids. period.
Aussies don't fuck around, dude. They had, I think, a couple of mass shootings, and they're like, nope, we're done. None of this shit. We're not going to have this gun problem anymore. And guess what? They don't have a gun problem anymore. Then they take a look at the social media aspect of this, and they're like, this is going to be an issue. It already is an issue. It's going to be bad. We're just going to go ahead and cut the head off the fucking snake right now. The US, this is going to be one of the biggest issues that we have. Obviously, gun violence is always. The rest of the world looks at us in our gun violence. And now when we talk about social media, the inability to actually go ahead and have a measured approach to it, it's ridiculous. It's not going to get done.
And it also helps that in Australia, they throw a venomous animal in jail with you to make sure that you don't fuck up or do wrong again.
Yeah, we can do that
gotta
too.
love Australia. Lieven, what you got?
My shout out goes to the ChatGPT search, which I mentioned in my middle name as well. Mm-hmm. So you might have read or saw that a few days ago, ChatGPT launched its new version, ChatGPT search, only for the paid subscribers. And I gave it a try this afternoon. I asked it, I need to come up with some entertaining idea for this boring podcast. And I have to find something, it's called a shout out. Can you find me 2 entertaining topics which I could use as a shout out? Yeah. And that was the only info I gave it. And it checked your website and it knew what kind of podcast you were. And then it came up with a list of very recent articles. And it gave me two topics. So you can choose whatever you want to know about. The first one is vampire recruitment. And the second one is final round AI.
Vampires. You always
go
vampire.
I want to hear about the vampires.
Yeah, vampires. As long as they're not sparkly vampires. I want to hear about the vampires.
Okay, I'll give you the short version. It was actually
Twilight. They sparkle.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a pretty long article from HR News. Mm-hmm. Apparently, that's a news site in the UK. Mm-hmm. Vampire recruitment drains top talent. HR leaders urge to modernize hiring practices. And then it goes on with lots of things you already know. So I'll cut the crap. And the other one was actually a very, very interesting tool. It's about, what was it called? Let me check again. It's an article in the Times, also from the UK. Mm-hmm. And it's about a tool which... It's a Silicon Valley startup, and you know the teleprompter, the thing you put in front of your lens so you can see text. Yep. Okay, so it created a tool to help you in during an application process. It's listening to the interview, and in real time, it's giving you with the prompt the answers to the questions, and even with code. So let's say you're a coder and you need to do a test, a coding exercise. It gives you the code in real time, and I've been looking into it. It works. It's amazing. I love it.
So, can we focus on the shade that Lieven threw at our show? Like he just sort of was real.
I love it.
I should use this in the show and constantly come up with witty remarks whenever you say something. It would be so less tiresome.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I'll give
Transcribe
it a go for
what we're saying, and then you come up with an AI
then
response
you
to everything.
hook it into your avatar, and then you don't even have to be on the damn show, Lieven. I mean, it's too easy. It's too easy. That's how you scale Lieven. There you go. You're welcome.
You just need to teach the AI to drink good beer while you're on the show, because that's
you know what it won't do. It won't give away free stuff though, and that's what we do here at this show. If you go to chadcheese.com/free, you will get an opportunity to, if you register, to possibly win a free T-shirt. Yes, that is sexy Chad and Cheese Guns N' Roses design T-shirts that feel all sexy on your body. They're good. They're nice. That's from Airnap. Bourbon barrel aged syrup from our friends over at Kiora. That's right. Up north, the good stuff. Beer, craft beer from Aspen Tech Labs. 2 bottles of whiskey from Tex Kernel, aka you know them as Bullhorn. And if it is your birthday, you might win some rum from Plum. Go to chadcheese.com/free and register to win.
I know I can.
Because if you don't play,
I can feel it all the way down in my plum.
You can't win.
I love when Chad's radio voice is on 11. Like, you can't win without. All right, celebrating another trip around the sun this week. Elizabeth Hill, Jennifer Ravalli, Jamie Carney, Jarvis Carell, Mike Vogel, and Julie Callie all celebrating. And Lieven, you celebrated a birthday pretty recently. What did you do to celebrate?
I celebrated too, actually. November 11th is the birthday of my wife, which is pretty important.
More important, yes.
She won't let me forget. But it's also the birthday on the same day as Rika Koppens, our CEO.
Oh.
So the two most important women in my life, constantly bossing me around, are born on the same day. How do you call it in the US? Armistice or something?
Armistice Day.
Armistice Day, yes.
Veterans Day for us. Although, where would you be without those two lovely women telling you what to do with your life? In a gutter somewhere, Lieven. In a gutter. That's where you'd be.
That's the official answer, but I can think of so many better places.
I mean, come on. Lieven is the gift that keeps on giving, for sure. Like, that is the ultimate gift to have.
I agree.
And you guys are traveling all over the place in Europe. Where is everybody? I'm here in Indiana. Yippee-ki-yay. Where are you guys at?
Talk about those ski trips, Lieven. What do you got going on? You're doing some skiing.
It's the start of the season. We're going skiing with House of HR in January somewhere. We're going to Italy, to Lieven for the people who actually love skiing.
Lovely.
And then also I invited myself to join the people from Redmore Group. They also have a skiing holiday. It's one of our companies also.
Nice.
And then I take my son skiing, and then I take my wife and my family skiing. So I've been skiing. I'm going to be skiing quite some time, coming months.
Winning.
Gotta love that. I'm going to be on the other side of that. I'm going to try to stay away from the snow. I'm currently in Cadiz. Later this week, going to Gibraltar, and then heading back to Portugal. The only problem here, though, is I have a surprise trip. We're going to Amsterdam over the weekend. It's going to be a little chilly. But hopefully we'll be able to warm up while we're there, then come back to Portugal, and then I'm just going to sit and enjoy there.
I'm going to be here watching football for the most part. Thanksgiving, it's all good stuff, which brings us to Fantasy Football, sponsored by our friends at Factory Fix.
Yes.
Gee, I wonder who's in the first spot again, week 3.
Yes.
Me, motherfuckers, me, and I take on Chad this week. So
yeah, it's not going to be a good weekend.
Gotta have it this week. All right, followed by Dean, Daddy Mackerel. Talk about the Australian contingency. That's right. I get three plays on this, and I'm done. All right, followed by David Stifel. Chad, you're in the 4 spot. Not too shabby. Jennifer Terry Tharp, Keith, the commish Sonderling. He's moving his way up slowly but surely. Christy Lisbon, Lori Martinelli, Dina, Pero for Pyros, Action, Jackson Dahlquist, Adam Gordon, a little crappy on his performance there. For someone who talks so much shit about wanting to play fantasy football,
he doesn't change his lineup.
He has totally dropped. He has totally embarrassed the fellow Scots.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, he really needs to come on in the second half of the season. And what would the bottom of the rankings be?
Horton? Is it
without
Horton?
Sean Horton? Here's a who. I think it's his 5th week in a row of being at the bottom. But again, that is Fantasy Football, sponsored by our friends at Factory Fix. And with that, Chad, are you ready?
Topics!
That's right. It's been a while since we've talked. That's right. Layoffs. Upwork will lay off 21% of its workforce, affecting at least 160 employees based on its previous headcount of 800 folks. 67 vice presidents and several managers at the Palo Alto office will be laid off by December of this year. But wait, that's not all. Germany's Personio announced a headcount reduction of 115 people, representing 6% of its workforce. The CEO highlighted a slowing economy and internal inefficiencies as a top reason. Chad, what are your thoughts on the layoffs that are going on in our industry right now?
Yeah, Upwork saw up on the revenue side of the house, which was good. And then they turned around and they started cutting heads. And just to clarify, there are 67 layoffs in Palo Alto, 8 of them were VPs, and a slew of directors. So you have less staff, you need less leadership, less management. Makes sense. It'll be interesting to be able to see if this was a knee-jerk reaction, and we shall see. When it comes to Personio, they've been due for a restructure. So I don't know if this is just the timing when it happens, but they've been due for a restructure, especially after all of the acquisitions they've had. That's the big key. You buy all these companies with all this staff. There's a lot of redundancy that's there. You start transitioning, you work through the redundancy, and this is what happens. You get kind of like a reallocation of resources.
You're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe.
So here we go, Chad. The year of efficiency is going on year 3 now. It started with Twitter. It started with big tech. We talked about Amazon IQ recently and the millions that they were going to save on that end. We talked about Google doing a quarter of their coding now automatically with AI, and we talked about this is going to start filtering down to smaller companies. The Upwork story, to me, was a stock shareholder efficiency story. And I think a lot of shareholders are going to put pressure on companies to do just what Upwork or do what Amazon and others have done. So he talked about a savings of $60 million a year with the headcount reduction. The stock is up 50% in the last month. This is going to be a theme that carries over. Lay off people, replace them with AI, see your stock price go up. Everyone is skiing in the Alps with Lieven. Like, that is going to be the story that we're talking about going into next year. Personio's CEO actually mentioned inefficiencies as part of the reason why things were necessary to lay off people, as well as the slowing economy. And we'll talk, maybe Lieven can talk a little bit about Europe and some of the challenges that Germany and a lot of the continent is facing. Personio is a German company. A lot of their initial clients were in Germany. They are trying to grow here in the US, which we've talked about. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, we're going to talk about this a lot. We're going to talk a lot about, especially public companies, headcount reduction, stock price goes up, boats and hose, rinse and repeat. And it's going to be a theme that we talk about quite a bit on this show. Lieven, what are your thoughts?
The whole Personio thing, if people are talking about efficiency, I always wonder, how is indeed AI going to impact that? And he didn't mention people are being replaced by AI, but if you read between the lines, it's kind of something like that. British Telecom, they were very clear about it. They fired 5,000 people and they said, we were going to replace those people by AI. There were like first line help desk people, etc. So this is going to be a constant in the near future, I think. But if you are asking about the European economy, things, they don't look that good, to be honest. With the whole American impact now, if Trump actually is going to go on with his universal import tax of between 10 and whatever percent, for Germany, for example, it would be a problem. We have plenty of the car industry, for example, everything would be so much more expensive if you have an import tax. And for Belgium, the Netherlands, France, Italy, we export a lot to the United States, would be certainly become problematic. But also the dollar is getting stronger compared to the euro. So importing will become more expensive to us as well. So we'll export less and we'll have problems importing. Then you are in for a big shit show, I think. So there are certainly talks again about a recession. And I hope it's not the case. We'll see. But it won't be easy the coming year, I think.
Sounds like it's time to start fining some big tech companies more and more. Let's send some fines to Google and Facebook and LinkedIn.
Well,
jeez, bring us to start.
My banker just said, no worries, Lieven, we'll invest in American companies.
There you go.
That was his answer.
There you go.
Just buy shares from their companies and everyone is happy. And I think from his little reality, he's probably right. His clients won't complain. I mean, Trump was elected and the whole fund went up for, I don't know, so many percentages.
It's
so fine.
Right, short-term blip. Give it some time. It all rounds back out. Just go ahead and look at Berkshire Hathaway and go ahead, throw some money in that, and then just everybody relax.
Yeah.
Just threaten to increase the price of wine, scotch, and cheese, and watch the Americans bend to your will. Well, speaking of some American companies and one Japanese company, let's talk some revenue news this week. ZipRecruiter reported a sharp 25% year-over-year revenue drop. Ouch, to $117 million in Q3 of this year, with a net loss of $2.6 million. This decline is attributed to a hiring slowdown, particularly among smaller businesses. Traffic to its site increased significantly, but the company forecast a 21% revenue decrease for next quarter. But wait, there's more, guys. There's more. Recruit Holdings expects fewer U.S. job postings, but anticipates revenue growth in the HR tech division, including Indeed and Glassdoor. A 4.5% revenue increase is projected for the latter half of the fiscal year, despite having fewer job ads. Due to strategies like urgent hiring labels and targeted candidate matching, Indeed has weathered the storm a little better than ZipRecruiter. Chad, what stood out to you on these two quarterly earnings reports?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and take some time. Let's carve out some Indeed time here, shall we?
Yeah.
Here at the Chat and Cheese podcast, we like to dig through all the bullshit and actually tell listeners what's going on. This really good story came from the AIM group, Tariq Ahmed Saidi, I believe it is. Now, Recruit stated the upward revision stem from, quote unquote, yes, I'm doing air quotes, monetization improvements, as the average revenue per job ad exceeded the rate of decrease in the volume of jobs, right? So from 2025 onward, Recruit will discontinue the pay per post advertising model, that's duration based, for its domestic job boards. So you might ask yourself, why get rid of duration-based job ads? Well, because it's much easier to screw partners and customers with the aforementioned monetization improvements. So what does a monetization improvement really mean? Okay, simple. Raise the rates on PPC for the end customer and pay out a lower rate to your distribution partners, hence widening your margins. For example, hypothetically, let's say Indeed paid a nursing website 50 cents per click to deliver traffic to a specific nursing job, and then turns around and then charges the regional hospital customer $2 per click. That's a $1.50 margin, okay, on every single click. So how do you perform monetization improvements? Easy. Instead of paying 50 cents on the nursing website, cut that down to 20 cents per click for traffic, and then turn around and charge the regional hospital, that client, an increased $2.25 per click. That provides a 30-cent gain per click on the partner side and 25-cent gain on the other side for the regional hospital, right? So that's 55 cents per click. Now, an additional 55 cents, which is added to the $1.50, that 55 cents doesn't seem like much until you understand the number of clicks Indeed receives on a daily basis, which is very hard, to not see that they're going to be getting mad cash out of this. So that's an example of monetization improvements, which is very hard to perform in a transparent duration-based model, which is one of the reasons why you want to get away from the paper post, right? Mm-hmm. Indeed can move the goalposts on the traffic partner and the customer at the same time. Now, here's the biggest issue. Indeed, in itself, they are really the watermark for the rest of the industry. If every other company who does this arbitrage, let's say, starts following Indeed's example, they're going to start fucking their partners, and there's going to be a lot less money to be able to be made. So this is what, again, an example of monetization and how Indeed is actually making money. Any questions, comments, concerns on the Indeed side before we jump into ZipRecruiter?
It's good to be the king, right?
Yeah.
When you're basically a monopoly, LinkedIn and Indeed do this shit. They have these dials, and they turn. We talked about Indeed went way too far. They went to 11 last year, and the whole market smacked them. So they turned it down, and then they said, okay, instead of 11, let's go to 6 first. Then we'll do another dial to 6, and then we'll do this to 8. So they slowly kind of turn the screws on these ways to make money. I know that everyone I talk to that works there they're really high in their sourcing tool. I've heard a few recruiters sort of talk well on that. So there is a little bit of like new stuff that people are trying out and paying for. But this is largely when you're the 800-pound gorilla, you can tweak the knobs, and like Chad said, a penny here, a penny there. It's like Office Space, right? When they did the code on the computer for like half a cent, and by the end of the day, they had like $50 million. So this is what Indeed can do. ZipRecruiter cannot do that, and we'll talk about them in a second. But Lieven, do you have any thoughts on Indeed?
I was kindly asked by the nice Indeed people not to mention them anymore. That's a fact. But no, I agreed with my contact at Indeed, with which I've got a good understanding that I'll look at it from a different way. So I'm not going to say a lot about Indeed. But one thing, with all these AI-powered applying tools which are coming up now, like lazyapply.com, and one push on a button, you can apply 1,000 times. I think if I was Indeed, I would launch something like CPA right now. Now is the time to launch it. Because cost per applicant, with one push on a button, you get 1,000 applications. The number of applicants is going to rise. This is the moment. And as you said, the duration-based is just too difficult to fraud with.
Yeah, well, so they tried CPA last year. They tried CPA, was it essay or whatever the fuck it was, and it all just imploded.
It was like
they should try it again
or something. They should try it again. That's right.
But I had a meeting with the nice people from Vonk yesterday. You know Vonk?
Everyone's nice who's a partner at House of HR.
I was going to say, what exactly really nice. Are they doing now? They were a distribution tool, and now they're like doing all of this AI like efficiency stuff, and it's like, can you just do what you say you're gonna do? I mean,
they do even more than that. Whatever. They explained me something about CPA Plus, which I kind of liked. Instead of just paying per applicant, you just pay per applicant they already checked, and they import them
qualified
in your ATS. Qualified.
Okay.
But Diana thought, okay, maybe that has a future. CPA, probably not, but CPA Plus could work. If they give me 20 qualified applicants and I pay 40 euros per applicant, I might agree. Something like that.
Yeah, CPQA makes sense. I don't think they're anywhere close to that.
Two of us on this call are not executives at an industry player.
Yes, and we don't have to talk nice if we don't want to.
You don't. I know.
So ZipRecruiter's demise, and this one actually Greg Spencer over at the AIM Group wrote about. ZipRecruiter's the number 2 recruitment site in the U.S. after Recruit Holdings, Indeed / Glassdoor. So let's make sure our audience knows that Zip is a way distant number 2. I mean, hell, Indeed is so far ahead of ZipRecruiter. Zip's lost Indeed's trail, and they're aimlessly wandering the frozen tundra, for God's sakes. The most pathetic piece of this is that their traffic went up and their revenues went down. I'll say that again. Their traffic went up and their revenues went down. To me, again, how they have not fired Ian out of that position as CEO, this is the time, guys. I mean, you take a look at number 1 that's out there, still driving revenue. Yes, they're playing these dial games as Joel would talk about, but they're still creating revenue. And Ian can't get the basic shit together when they've got the traffic that is exploding. It's like 13% rise above that of the other platforms that are out there. Well, if that's the case, why aren't you making money? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, here's a summary of the ZipRecruiter conference call.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
I don't get it.
Oh, so yeah, it's bad to be the serf, the joker, the non-king, if you will. ZipRecruiter, They're throwing. I mean, yeah. Phil's been busy. Phil's been chatting up some job seekers on the site. Unfortunately, it hasn't resulted in any revenue. They're creating Zip Intro. That's exciting, right? That's got
too late.
That's got the industry super fired up. Zip Intro. So I'm going to call it now. I know it's not quite our prediction show, but it's time. Donnie's in the White House. Regulations like cut, taxes cut. It's going to be cheaper to get money. It's time for Recruit Holdings to write a check and acquire ZipRecruiter so they can have the full American Zip, Glassdoor, and Indeed, the whole package. Monster and Career Builder are now aligned. Like this is the time. ZipRecruiter's floating out there. Recruit Holdings, their they're worth less than their market cap is just below $1 billion. That's couch cushion money for Recruit Holdings. Yeah. Write a check, end it. Let Ian go off in the sunset. They're on fucking the beach in LA. Like, let him go, and this whole ZipRecruiter thing can be done. And maybe because ZipRecruiter's already public, they can roll that into one big ZipRecruiter, Indeed, whatever, and maybe spin off a different public IPO with all these 3 job boards. And that would be a fun thing to talk about on the podcast. But it's time for Recruit to back up the Brinks truck and buy ZipRecruiter.
So you posted a new job ad. Now you can sit back and wait for the applications to roll in, right? That's why we built JobPixel. Imagine showing candidates why your company is great with real people, real stories, and real culture. With JobPixel, it's not just another job ad. It's an invitation to something much bigger.
Video gives you a 3 times better response rate. So instead of chasing after candidates, they'll be coming to you.
And with a 34% boost in conversions, candidates aren't just looking, they're applying.
And if you're worried about people clicking away, don't be. Our videos reduce bounce rates by 25%. That means they're watching, they're engaged, and they're interested.
282% more engagement. Yeah, you're gonna need a bigger inbox.
Finding the right candidate is tough, but with JobPixel, it doesn't have to be. Show your company's authentic story, and the candidates will follow.
Let's make recruiting fun again, because honestly, it could use some help.
Do you want to see how JobPixel can save you time and money while achieving your KPIs? Schedule a demo today.
All right, humans, time to meet your replacements. Serve Robotics, an autonomous delivery company, is acquiring Vibu, the maker of Avocado, a machine that makes guacamole. Known for its connection to, you guessed it, one of my favorites, Chad. Chipotle is in the house. That's right. Okay, so we got our cooks taken care of. They're gone. Now let's go to salespeople. 11X, an AI sales automation platform, has secured $50 million in Series B funding to enhance its digital workers, named Alice and Jordan, who automate sales tasks. Time to buy some Nvidia stock, maybe. CEO Jensen Huang recently said in an interview that he predicts that AI employees will work across areas, including marketing and supply chain roles, and will be able to complete work just as people do. The result, Chad, that we're finding: worker loneliness, anxiety, and fear. What me worried? Chad, are you scared of our robot overlords and our demise?
No. And we've talked about culture on podcast after podcast after podcast for a while now. And we recently recorded a podcast with our friends over at HR Grapevine about employee surveys. But the underpinning of that discussion and this one is employee engagement, which is the responsibility of leadership. Right? So if loneliness is happening, why wasn't leadership doing something about it? Because they didn't know? Because they never asked? Maybe because they just didn't give a fuck, right? So who knows? But what we do is that this culture is created by companies and they have less than happy employees, right? Which means less productivity, higher attrition, more money spent on acquiring and training new talent, and lost revenue due to everything I just mentioned before. So we're still in the wild, wild west phase of AI and creating efficiencies. We're exactly at the point where leaders who engage their staff understand the needs of their people and delivering on the feedback for the future. This, to me, demonstrates where there was 166 engineers at a biomedical company where they were feeling loneliness and they were dropping productivity. That is not their fault. That is the fault of old, traditional, lazy management and leadership. We need to actually evolve. We need to pivot, and we need to understand that we don't need everybody in the fucking office doing work. And at the end of the day, it comes down to profits, which obviously it's the capitalist way to do things. If we're not keeping our employees happy, they're going to leave, and it's going to cost us a shit ton of cash and revenue.
I'm going to start with Chipotle. Big shocker, Chad.
There's my life.
I've said it before. There's not a company in America, at least, probably Europe as well, in the West, that isn't having the discussion, how do we do more with less people? How do we continue the profit machine and have fewer people doing the job? And these companies are going to happen. Your guacamole is going to be made by a robot. Your burger is going to be flipped by a robot. Your buffalo wings are going to be dropped in the fryer by a robot. There's going to be fewer people. However, there is a shortage of people. So it's either have a robot do it, or you got to wait a long time, or not maybe get it at all. And that maybe that store doesn't open at all. That's just going to happen. I mean, I go to my local McDonald's. I have a kiosk. I don't talk to a cashier anymore. I put a number on my table and my food comes out. So this is going to happen, and companies are going to have this like whole stack of, we'll come in, we'll do everything for you, cook your food and everything. And this is where that world is going. Now we need people with jobs to buy the food. So at some point, like there's a breaking point of, geez, we don't have any employees to buy the food. So what does that balance look like? Not quite sure, but it's robots don't eat burritos yet. So that's a problem. On the sales side and the AI employee, like let's be like most particularly startups, like sales is a hard thing to hire for. It's a hard job. You can go through a lot of time wasting on people to source leads. And I mean, just a lot of time and money. Every startup in the world that does sales is going to have an AI component to sales. Like a voice is going to call, emails are going to go out, drip campaigns, whatever. And then the actual sale where they talk to a human being might actually be a human being. But that is going to happen. Customer service is going to get hit. Marketing is going to get hit. Like what that looks like. My fear is that the people who do an entry-level jobs that get their feet wet in these sort of roles before they become a top-tier salesperson, I don't know where they're going to come from. I don't know what the entry-level job looks like, because I think AI is going to do a lot of it. Nvidia is going to be at the forefront of this. So for him, I don't want to say he sugarcoated it, but in the interview that he had, he said,
of course,
he said, it's unlikely to lead to layoffs. Okay, dude, maybe, but there's going to be a lot of people that need Nvidia chips to service all this AI that's basically selling companies. I mean, if you look at, Lieven mentioned Perplexity and ChatGPT and what they're doing, but if you look at you look at some of the Copilot stuff that's going on, like it's equal parts scary as shit and it's equal parts like cool as shit, because AI is going to start knowing your your activity on websites and apps and what you're doing. So when Chad says, hey, book me a flight to wherever he goes, Athens, it will know that he likes this he likes Delta. He likes this kind of seat. He likes to leave this time in the morning. Yep. Like it's going to know everything about Chad, so he can just put that off and have a robot make his reservations. That's coming to the workforce.
I'll own that, which is awesome. Right. And I think that's, and that's the big key. I think here in Europe, you will definitely own it. It'll be different in the States, or it's going to be much different in the States, at least starting out.
And we've talked about McDonald's having face recognition where you drive to the drive-thru and it's like, oh, it's Joel, double quarter pounder meal, medium Diet Coke. Like, do you want the normal? You want your regular? Like, yep. And then like we're good to go. So,
and is that
not
legal
in the
US?
No.
Okay, in Europe it's totally illegal. It's not possible, but I would have loved it.
But it's possible.
It's technically possible.
My point is like Nvidia is going to get really rich on all this automation. So it behooves him to like turn the volume down on fear and loathing and anxiety in the workforce, because Nvidia is going to profit greatly from this. Where this whole thing shakes out, I don't know. We can't go fully automated because, like I said, robots don't eat burritos, but companies are doing everything they can for their shareholders, for the whatever, to do the work that they do with fewer people. That's just a reality that we're living with.
Profits over people. Yes.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Lieven? Right. You're not going to see robots flipping burgers in the in Brussels they
might make waffles in Belgium. The waffle making robot. They must have one.
The waffle flipping jobs. Yeah.
There you go.
No, because I think people are less expensive than robots for doing these kinds of jobs, which is a hard reality. But I'm not anxious, not really, because, hybrid teams are already existing. It's reality. You have a manager managing a team consisting of people and then some bots, which are doing also some kind of jobs.
Yeah.
So this is already happening, but it's not like we see them as a colleague. It's just a tool other people are using. And the moment that tool is replacing real people, it's becoming not a colleague, but it's replacing colleagues. So the loneliness might be a thing. But in many cases, I see a lot of advantages. If I compare AI tools to my current colleagues, I think AI is polite, AI is patient, it's far more intelligent and less artificial than my colleagues. It does the work, I take the credits, AI doesn't complain. I mean, the list goes on. I like AI. But the problem is, of course, and that's something Joel also said, the moment that AI is going to replace starter jobs. So when someone is graduating now from, let's say, applied information technology, coding, for the first time in 20 years or so, those people are not finding a job in Europe. Why? Because the basic coding jobs are done by AI. Yep. And we still need very, very experienced people to become IT architects, etc. But you don't get the possibility to become experienced. And that's a problem, I'm afraid of. The base layers of the jobs are disappearing and are replaced by tools. And big tech companies like Microsoft and Google, they can still just hire starters and prepare them for a career within the company. But it's the mid-sized companies, they're not going to invest in someone they don't really need. So they're not going to invest in training people. And there I see a big problem with youth unemployment, etc. And this is something we have to fix.
Yeah, I think so. If you take a look at like British Telecom, as you'd said earlier, they are looking at getting rid of 5,000 people. They still have hundreds of open positions on their website. There's a restructuring. There's a different way that they're going to start using people. Entry level is going to be different because those entry level individuals are going to be powered with assistance as well. So instead of them starting out as base level, now they're going to have that assistant to be able to help them. They're going to be able to get more things done, and they're going to be more focused on QA/QC, right? So the way that we think of some of these layoffs, it's literally going to be restructuring because they need different types of talent and skill sets. And then everybody's going to be bedwetting because it's like, oh my God, there's layoffs. Well, yeah, with this huge change, this is a tectonic shift. in the actual landscape, but we're still going to need people to do that. So are we going to have entry-level people? We will. They will be powered with AI, which means they're not going to be the entry level that we used to know. Right. So I think that's my opinion on how it's going to actually evolve in the workforce.
That's a positive way to look at it.
I try, man. I'm Eurochad.
Right.
He's Eurochad. Everything is good. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're... We'll be right back.
Hospitality is the heart of our society. It brings people together to share great food, drinks, and experiences. But successfully managing a restaurant or hotel is no easy feat. That's where Harri comes in. Harri is the frontline employee experience platform that helps you build, manage, and engage great teams. With Harri, managers can easily find and hire top talent, manage timekeeping, and communicate with employees at any time from any place. Candidates and team members can quickly and efficiently apply for jobs, swap shifts, and access important information entirely from their mobile devices. And Harri's robust employee engagement tools make team members feel more connected than ever. With Harri, as an owner or operator, you get a bird's eye view of your business, from turnover cost, labor cost, employee sentiment, compliance risk, and team performance. Run your business better by understanding the power of your people. Because when your team is the heart of your business, Harri is the heartbeat. See how it transforms your business.
All right, Chad, we have a Drake Star story just because Drake Star is so fucking fun to say. Drake Star. All right, they released some interesting numbers this week. In 2024, the HR tech sector saw over 800 deals with $7.2 billion invested. They highlighted AI adoption in HR as the driving force. Chad, there was a lot of information on that report. What stood out to you?
So 40 M&A transactions in Q3 of 2024 in this sector alone, 37% of which happened in Europe. That to me was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That was a very large chunk of M&A happening in Europe. And one of the things that I think we've seen, Joel, is that we've seen tons of small startups come out of Europe that have been incredibly innovative. And that was different from 10 years ago. Right. So we're starting to see much more innovation come out of Europe. And obviously we're seeing a lot of M&A coming out there. And then the top AI use cases in recruiting around interviewing, handling admin tasks, recruitment-based tasks, personalized training. We talked to a ton of companies that were at the Paradox client board. And the first thing that they said, easy button right out of the gate, get rid of scheduling. Get rid of that fucking scheduling, dude. It's so much faster. You don't need people to do it. Not to mention, it's a pain in the ass. So I think this report, again, Eurochad being positive, it was all good.
Yeah, it was. So what stood out to me, a couple of things. The report said only 25% of companies are employing this for HR functions. Mm-hmm. So to your point, this is going to compound significantly because when we talk to companies, it's like, well, we took one step and that one step led to how much in savings, how much in time saved, how much in efficiency. So it's like, so we're going to spend a lot more on AI than we were because I felt like this past year and the year before was sort of like, we're going to baby step this thing and see what happens. The people who are baby stepping are like, fuck yeah, we're going knee deep into AI. That's going to lead more and more companies to do that little test run, dip our toe in, see how it's going. So this thing is just going to compound with companies spending money and more money on AI tools. If we're only at 25% of that iceberg, like I suspect we're going to talk a lot about more AI tools and companies leveraging a lot more of the power of that, which I think also is going to give companies more gravitas to buy companies, to invest in other companies. Like I see Workday and other companies that have incubators and invest in companies.
No reason to build
money. Yeah, put more chips on the table. Bet on more of these startups because if one of them takes off, it's going to be a huge whirlwind of cash. So Yeah. The fact that we talk about this every week and we think it's huge and we think that 99% of companies are using this, that's not the case, man. We are just at the cusp. Nope. Yep. The cusp of this tsunami. And there are a few things that could, I guess, derail it, global conflict, et cetera. But for the most part, like I'll be a little Euro chat on this and say, like, this was a great report and a lot of opportunity and money is going to be flowing into our space, which is good for everybody.
Which makes Lieven happy. I can see him smiling right there.
Yeah,
so what do you think, Lieven? Especially that big number in Europe, man. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's only getting better because we're just at the start of a cycle which is going to be going on for quite some time. And I also think that this is a perfect moment to be young and enthusiastic and hardworking and creative and launch a little company. The big ones are eager to buy creativity now because they don't have it in them anymore. They're too big. So if I was...
Oh, you mean if you were with a big company, House of HR? Yeah, okay.
No. If I was 20 years younger and back where I was 20 years ago, I definitely would launch something. But indeed, we are. All companies are looking at
well, it's good advice though from a big company, right? Who
looking to
does
buy, baby.
Acquisitions. That's right.
Sure,
yeah.
But there's also the backside of it. For each 10 companies that start, one will make it, and that one we're going to buy. But the other 9 probably have learned a lot and might do better in the future, but they didn't succeed. So it's not all glory. But definitely it's easier than it was a few years ago now.
Yeah. And don't forget the Aqua hiring, baby. The people that you can get when you buy those companies. And also 2 companies that are looking for boats and hose. It's time, Chad. We haven't played in a while. Time for Who'd You Rather, in case you haven't played this with us. We talk about 2 companies, startups that have recently gotten cash, and the boys here decide which of the 2 they would rather. You know what I'm saying? So let's get to contestant number 1. In this corner, Toothio, a Phoenix-based digital staffing platform for the dental industry, has raised $5 million. Funds will support scaling efforts, expansion into new U.S. markets, and setting new standards in dental staffing flexibility and productivity in 2025. Founded in 2022, the company employs 46 people. That is Toothio. And in this corner, we have Social Crowd. The U.S.-based company has secured $2.5 million in seed funding. The funds will be used to grow the company's team and broaden its market presence. Calling itself, quote, Fitbit for work, end quote. Social Crowd's platform helps in tracking employee goals, sending reminders, and providing immediate rewards to boost productivity and focus. Founded in 2022, they employ 8 associates. So, Chad, the table is set. We have Toothio versus Social Crowd. Who'd you rather?
So I actually like both these startups for different reasons, but when I look at an industry that is ripe for disruption, Lieven knows this because they do it a lot. It's the staffing industry. In 2023, the revenue of the staffing industry worldwide totaled roughly $593 billion US dollars. The traditional staffing model will die, and more scalable and Uber-like models will definitely take its place. So I'd rather Toothio start niche, prove the model, and then expand into nursing, blue collar, tech, pick whatever lane you like. But major disruption in staffing will happen. As we've seen, none of the big players, the Ronstads, the Adecos, they don't understand. And I mean, they've pretty much, the way that I see it, they've become the blockbuster. And this is the point where we're going to say, you know, I'm not going to be kind and rewind. We're going to find a streaming service, kids.
All right. Toothio comes out on top, if you know what I'm saying on that one. Do you want a big fish in a smaller pond, or do you want a small fish in a big pond is, to me, the question on this. And I will tell a little story here. I have an almost 85-year-old dad. And he doesn't listen to the show, so I'm not worried about embarrassing him. But he has roughly 3 of his original teeth still in his mouth. He recently had a few teeth pulled. He's got to get some false teeth. Anyway, teeth are a big deal in his life. And I don't know if you've heard, but there's a lot of baby boomers that are getting older and need medical attention and help, which means a flood of potential dental customers are ready to flood the offices of dental hygienists everywhere. They're only serving 8 markets right now, in 8 markets in the United States. So there's a huge runway to open this thing up in American cities as well as North America and head over to Europe at some point. So the potential market is huge for them. Everyone has teeth last time I checked, or at least most of us have some form of teeth. There's no risk of automation in dental work. I don't see going to get my teeth clean and have a robot back up and like start messing around with my teeth and my gums and in my mouth. Like I don't need that kind of stress with my dental appointment. So we're going to need people to do the job. We're going to have more people that need the job done. They've just scratched the surface. They already have 30,000 dental professionals that are on this site ready to work. Toothio is the one definitely that I would pick, but Social Crowd, small fish in a big pond. Like there's so many companies trying to like engage workers, mobile like engagement. The examples they had were really strange. Like it was, get $1 for 5 specials that you sell. Are the margins that tight that you can only offer $1 for like 5? This was a real life case study they had on the site. So I don't know if $10 is going to like really energize your wait staff to like go the extra mile and sell specials. So there's just too much competition. They're hopefully going to be bought, but Toothio could be like a juggernaut in the dental realm. So for me, I'm doing 4 on the down unders, baby, because I'd rather Toothio. All right, Lieven, break the tire. Join in.
I totally agree with both of you.
Sorry, it's not break the tie. Sorry.
Yeah.
Chad's beer is osmosis through the screen. Yeah. There is water on this, I promise.
I agree with both of you. I mean, I looked into Toothio and Toothio, what a stupid name is Toothio. I thought it reminds me of teeth. And then I read the article, okay, it's about teeth. So probably a good name after all. Toothio, okay. And then I also believe in niches and you have to specialize. And Toothio and I feel flexible staffing platforms are definitely the future. In a niche like healthcare, and then within healthcare, the teeth, the dentist business, you can't go wrong. And I'm not sure if it's the same in the US, but in Europe, if you want to go to a dental office, you have to plan your toothache 6 months in advance because you just can't enter. It's if they really like you and you've got an emergency, they might see you 2 days later. But most of the offices don't even accept new patients anymore. So there is really, really, really a shortage. So now they are hiring from Eastern European countries, but those degrees aren't the same. So those people aren't allowed to do actual, they're called dentists in let's say Romania, but they aren't allowed to do anything in Belgium, for example. So that's a whole problem. So I think a platform like that definitely has reason to exist. And if they do it right, it can't go wrong. And Social Crowd, I looked into it and I didn't like him, and I'll end my story there.
Enough said.
All right, sounds like you're picking
Toothio.
It's a hat trick for Toothio, and it's going to be another hat trick for my dad jokes. Everybody, Lieven, in recognition of your constant skiing trips, my dad joke is as follows: how do you find Will Smith in the snow? How do you find Will Smith in the snow?
No idea.
Oh, Chad, any guesses?
No, you got me.
Will Smith and the snow.
To find Will Smith in the snow, you just have to follow the Fresh Prince. Get it?
Oh,
Fresh Prince.
Amazing.
We out.
Okay. We out.
Thank you for listening to, what's it called? A podcast. The Chad. The Cheese. Brilliant. They talk about recruiting. They talk about technology. But most of all, they talk about nothing. Just a lot of shout-outs of people you don't even know. And yet you're listening. It's incredible. And not one word about cheese. Not one. Cheddar. Blue. nacho, pepper jack, Swiss. So many cheeses and not one word. So weird. Anywho, be sure to subscribe today on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. That way you won't miss an episode. And while you're at it, visit www.chatcheese.com. Just don't expect to find any recipes for grilled cheese. It's so weird. We out!